Hi, and welcome to Passionate Purpose. And I am so excited that we have the opportunity to meet and learn all about Todd Kuckkahn today. So, Todd, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. And I say that very authentically because what you're doing in the world to impact companies and corporations is very much in alignment with my heart. So can we just dive in right away? And can you share a little bit about how you plan to revolutionize corporations with your mission?
Yeah, so as I've said and write, I'm on a mission to revolutionize company culture and leadership. I've had some horrible experiences. I've had some great experiences in the workplace. I've actually been fired 4 times. I've had 15 different jobs. I've been fired 4 times, and usually I can take a little bit of the blame, but a lot of the time it was the company culture and the leadership, and just wasn't that the culture that people want to work in, where there was meaningful engagement and things like personal enrichment was lacking, and there wasn't a caring for each other, that passion that you talk about so well. So that's why I finally decided late in my career, at age 63, to jump out on my own full time. I've had my business for over 5 years, but full time for just one now, and just jump in and really help people get out into the world and share a message about there can be great opportunities in the workplace.
I just absolutely love that. But I know our listeners are going to want to know um, what were some of those experiences that you had along your journey, that said to you and spoke to you and said, hey, wait a second, there needs to be stronger leadership in the corporate world.
I think you can tell it's what one thing we sometimes forget about in the workplace is that it's relationships. And when you peel away all the problems in a workplace, production isn't going right, sales isn't going right, HR isn't going right. When you really peel it all away, it comes down to what I think is personality.
Mhm.
And our personalities determine how effective our workplace is going to be. So really the first thing that we need to be aware of and do something about is understanding each other's personalities and our different styles, our likes, our dislikes, really get down. And that's not comfortable for everybody, but everybody has some degree of personal interest. You walk in the office, if you walk in an office on a Monday morning, people bring in baggage from the weekend. Maybe their dog didn't go to the bathroom when they took them out for a walk, or maybe they had a fight with a spouse or a partner or a family member. A lot of different things that challenge us in our daily lives, and we have to remember that. We've shifted in our world over the last couple of decades from a management mentality, and now fortunately, we're shifting to a leadership mentality where we really care about the people. And if you look at younger generations, that's what they want, is meaningful engagement in the workplace, and really where people respect who they are and they can have a passion. The term I heard a couple months ago now was intrapreneur. We all heard of entrepreneur, but intrapreneur is somebody like an entrepreneur, but they're doing it in the workplace. They have the passion, they have the desire, they're engaging with other employees, they understand and respect each other for who they are and not what their title is.
I love that. I love that. And isn't that so important? I love what you just said because I'm absolutely with you when you say it's all about the relationships, and they don't train us. We don't get any training in relationships. So, can you share what it is specifically that you're doing in this transformation that you're creating for companies?
Sure. Basically, I've developed a 5-step roadmap, and the 5-step roadmap is really for retention, keeping your employees. So just as a side note, we can certainly talk about it, is I think the most effective way to attract employees, and people are having trouble attracting employees, is by retaining those employees that you have. They're going to be your best advertising or commercial to come and work at our business. So the way it starts internally is I always have people start out with their core values. We go through an exercise, takes about an hour, where really people think into what their core values are. I mean, everybody will say they value their family, and some will say religion, but but really thinking into and really going through a kind of a process to determine what are my 5 core values. Mine happen to be optimism, trust, honesty, enthusiasm, and teamwork. And that really defines who I am. And a lot of times throughout my career, especially recently, I've had to rely on my core values to help me get through things. And when you look at what we've been through in the last 2 years and what we're going to continue to be through, we're always going to have that change and uncertainty. And our core values really ground us in who we are and are foundational to that and can help us get through that change and uncertainty. And then from there, we develop into what I call the wheel of life. There's 9 different factors on the wheel of life. It's not as simple as a life work teeter-totter. I wish it were that simple, right? There's a lot of factors that impact our lives. So again, another exercise, we talk about our strengths and weaknesses. We write some statements about those. You can share with each other. And when you talk in a staff meeting or workshops in the office about core values, your wheel of life, that's where we really start getting meaningful engagement, and you understand why people are the way they are. From there, the third step is differences make us better, and respecting racial, ethnic, cultural, generational. I just heard a great talk by Tim Elmore through the Live to Lead, John Maxwell's Live to Lead, about generational differences, all those different elements. Again, really getting to that personality. Then fourth step is your comfort zone, taking risks. The biggest risk is not taking risks, I think. And then the fifth step is, I call it TLC, and that's team leadership culture. And what I utilize there is a DISC personality behavior assessment, where people get a better understanding of themselves through these 4 steps and taking the assessment. And then we start thinking about, okay, now how can I relate to these other people in the workplace? And I've done this in manufacturing businesses. I've done it in a meat manufacturing facility. I've done it in a farm. So it's, some people think, oh, that's not for me. This is for everybody. Trust me, this is for everybody.
I love it. So is it small to mid-size? Is it mid-size to large? Is it just you're open to any size company?
I think, well, it doesn't matter the company size. It matters the group size. You can't necessarily do an effective job in front of 5,000 people at once, although I can speak in front of 5,000 people. But in terms of workshopping, you need to have smaller groups. But I've done this in Generac, which is an international company. They do the generators for homes and business and a lot of other things. We started in our IT department with 90 people. Imagine 90 people in an IT department. That's a big company.
Yes.
But we started in that, and I've worked with smaller companies. I've worked with 5 people who are all different from different companies too. So you can really slice it and dice it any way you want to. And again, because relationships come into play so often, no matter what we're doing.
That's an understatement. But I love it. So can you share with us one of the huge successes or that you've experienced in the last year with the companies that you're serving?
Yeah, I would say one is it's a meat manufacturing company here in central Wisconsin, where I live, and I was brought in to do some work with them, and we created a culture team. It took us 4 months to convince the executive leadership team to do this. They were nervous for 2 reasons. First of all, if they created this culture team, would it cause issues for the executive leadership team? Are they going to find out things they might not want to hear? And then they were worried about, would we be successful? Because we were looking for about 20 people, about 10% of the workforce there, 20 people to get on this team. Well, it ended up we had, for those 20 spots, we had 40 people apply. So we actually had to, tell some people not this year. Yeah. One of the first things we did was team building, and part of the team building was the 5-step, the roadmap that we did. And again, it was interesting. These are frontline people that are, again, cutting the meat, smoking the meat, packaging the meat, and great people, but they were never given the tools to be successful on the relationship side of the business. So we had some really interesting conversations about their core values, and that led into conversations about the company's core values, and that led to conversations with the executive team. As a matter of fact, the executive leadership team came in, we were doing some small groups with the culture team, and they facilitated these small groups. When we were done and all the culture team members left, the executive team stuck around, and they were like, oh my gosh, I never, this is the best I've ever heard. I've heard things I've never heard before, both good and bad. but
Mhm.
they never interacted with the frontline people to understand that. So this culture team and working them through their core values helped to further the process and help the company develop their core values. And I've since left. They've taken it up on their own now, but they're still continuing as a culture team, continuing to grow and I'm certain it's helping with their retention. And if they keep people, they attract people. They attract people, they'll produce more product, and that's kind of the bottom line.
And I love that, Todd, what you just said. And what the question that popped up for me is I would love to do the follow up and see, like, go back to these companies, right? Go back to them and say, hey, like, I'd love to do a follow up or like a study and like kind of like look at the companies over time and see, so you can measure your impact. That's really exciting.
I've been keeping in touch with I had a liaison in that business, and I keep in touch with her about once a quarter. I'll shoot her an email and just say, hey, how things are going, because I'm, like you say, I'm really curious about,
Yeah.
you go in there and work on it for a year, but yeah, they're still plugging along, and they've got some subcommittees now that are working on specific projects. Another one that popped in my mind too was there's a business in Milwaukee, a manufacturing digital. It's a digital manufacturing business, so a different type of business. And I went into their offices and did a disc assessment.
Mhm.
We were going around the room, kind of sharing our styles, our strengths and weaknesses, stressors, motivators, all those sorts of things, developing a personal development plan for them. And we got around to one guy, and he was relatively new, like a year, and he was like me, closer to 100 than zero. And he said, Todd, this has really been good for me. He said, when I was a kid, I was bullied, and it was really an issue in my life. And he said, now I see and understand the people around me and what their styles are. So a D, which is a driven, dominant personality style, they're not bullying me. That's just kind of who they are. And I have to figure out how can I better work with them based on my style, which isn't a D. And you flip that around, the D has to then understand how to work with others as well. But I just the light goes on, the light flashes. Those moments when I do these workshops or when I'm presenting, when I'm speaking, it's really interesting. You dive into it, and some people are like, oh, we can't talk about our lives, and we can't get into all this woo fluffy. It's not that at all. It's you hear the term a lot, emotional intelligence. That's kind of what we're diving into, is emotional intelligence in a workplace.
And a game changer.
And a game changer, right?
And a game changer. So now with the work that you're doing currently, and when you reflect back on your experience that started this whole journey, what do you think about?
Well, I'm laughing only because one thing I think about is I wish I'd started this out of high school, doing because it just everybody has a message. Kimberly, you have a message. You do a great job sharing a message through your podcast, through your posts on Facebook and LinkedIn. Everybody needs to share their message. Now, it doesn't mean that I impact everybody or you impact everybody, but there are people out there that we're impacting in a positive way. We're helping them think about their lives differently. And just like the individual who talked about bullying, you have, I'm sure as well, gotten notes from people about, geez, thank you so much. I really needed that. I had one person say it helped them get through chemotherapy one day. I mean, but so I wish I had started younger, but fortunately, 5 years ago, John Maxwell was brought into my life by somebody I didn't know at the time. And now he's one of my best friends, but brought that leader into my life. Now, I don't know John personally. I've shook his hand and all that stuff, but I mean, he's been a real mentor to me, and there's so much good out there, and whoever it is, whoever you find, it could be you, Kimberly, it could be me, but finding that person who can kind of help us walk through life is also really valuable.
Oh my goodness. Our journey is, and you know what? And I know I can share this with you because you're faith driven as well. I mean, God's timing, right? Like his timing is just so perfect. It's so, so perfect. So even though I heard what you said, even though you reflect back and say, hey, like I wish I would have done this earlier, God picked this exact moment for you to be doing this. So I absolutely love it. And before we wrap everything up, because I'm really enjoying leaning into what you're doing and your passion and how it's so connected with your purpose. Is there anything else that you'd love to share to the entrepreneur, to the business person, any message that you'd like to leave them with today?
One thing a quote I like to use from Bob Proctor, who passed away recent. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's really what I'm about, is that caring part. I mean, when I got fired from the Girl Scouts, for crying out loud. The little girls in green and brown outfits that sell cookies, but it was because of the culture, and it was
Interesting.
yeah, and I got fired from a Catholic school. So it's like, but it's all about the culture and how you relate to others. So as an entrepreneur, sometimes you get so focused in your business, you're not working on your business. And working on your business, part of that is taking care of yourself and developing yourself as a leader. Matter of fact, I was in a networking group this morning, and the person I was talking to said, once I figured out that I need to worry about me some, invest in myself, it really changed my business. It flipped my business. So again, find those opportunities to reach out, reach out to Kimberly, reach out to me, find those people to reach out to that you can trust and bring into your inner circle and can really help you grow as an entrepreneur.
Those are some wise words of wisdom. And I can't wait till we get some more of Todd Kuckkahn. I know our audience is going to absolutely love this conversation. If you are listening to this conversation, please reach out to Todd, connect with him, learn more about how he can support you individually as well as your company. Todd, thanks so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Well, we also should thank Lachelle Atkins, who kind of got us connected too. She's the master connector. But Kimberly, thanks so much. It's been just an honor and a blessing to be on this with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't wait to have you back. And hopefully you'll come back so we can learn some more.
You betcha.
Absolutely. Have a great day.